In this section, we are going to introduce the draping method of the back princess bodice. First, remove the pins at the side neck point and the shoulder point. Secure pins to lower position, leaving the shoulder line to drape the back bodice. Also leave the side seam of dress form to drape the back bodice. Fold under the extension at the center back. Pin the intersection of the back width line and the center back line. Smooth the muslin and pin the back neck point and the back waist point. Next, we will pin the shoulder blade level. Leave 0.3 cm each at the shoulder blade level. Pin the intersection of the back width line and the princess line. Smooth the muslin towards the side seam. Pin along the princess line. Smooth the muslin at the waistline. Pin the intersection of the princess line and the waistline. Smooth up the muslin. Clip into the muslin to at least 0.6 cm to the neckline. Smooth the neckline. Pin the side neck point. Smooth the muslin at the shoulder. Pin the intersection of the princess line and the shoulder line. Leave 0.15 cm each at the shoulder. Smooth the muslin at the shoulder. Pin the intersection of the princess line and the shoulder line. Mark on the center back panel. Dot the back neckline. Cross mark at the side neck point. Cross mark at the intersection of the princess line and the shoulder line. Dot along the princess line. Cross mark at the intersection of the princess line and the waistline. Dot the waistline. Cross mark at the back waist point. Take off the center back panel from the dress form. True the neckline by the French curve. Connect the shoulder line by straight line. True the princess line by the hip curve. Add 2.5 cm seam allowance along the princess line. Add 2.5 cm seam allowance at the shoulder line. Add 1.3 cm seam allowance at the neckline. Trim away the excess muslin. From the shoulder blade level, measure down 5 cm along back princess line. Add double notches at princess line. Pin the center back panel on the dress form. Pin the back neck point and the back waist point. Smooth the muslin and pin the side neck point. Pin the intersection of the princess line and the shoulder line. Leave some ease at the shoulder. Pin the intersection of the princess line and the waistline. Next, we will drape side back panel. Align the shoulder blade level of the side back panel with shoulder blade level of the center back panel. The lengthwise grain line should be perpendicular to the ground and be placed in the middle of the side panel. Pin the intersection of the shoulder blade level and the lengthwise grain line. Leave 0.3 cm each at the shoulder blade level. Pin the intersection of the shoulder blade level and the princess line. Smooth down the lengthwise grain line. Pin the intersection of the lengthwise grain line and the waistline. Clip along the lengthwise grain below the waistline. Smooth the muslin towards center back. Pin the princess line. Leave some ease at the waistline. Smooth the waistline. Pin the intersection of the princess line and the waistline. Slash below the waistline if it's necessary. Smooth the muslin towards the side seam. Pin the side waist point and the under armhole point. Smooth up the muslin. Pin the princess line. Pin the intersection of the princess line and the shoulder line. Leave point 15 ease at shoulder. Smooth the muslin at shoulder. Pin the shoulder point. Track if all the parts are flat. Pin together the under armhole points of the back bodice and that of the front bodice. Please use the original under armhole point of the bodice. Pin together the side waist points of the back bodice and the front bodice. Please also use the original side waist points. After pinning, track if the selvages of the front bodice and the back bodice are parallel. If not, adjust the location of the back waist point. If the selvages of the front bodice and back bodice are parallel, we can start to mark on the side back panel. Cross mark at the intersection of the princess line and the shoulder line. Dot along the princess line. Cross mark the intersection of the princess line and the waistline. Dot the waistline. Cross mark the shoulder point. Dot along the armhole curve. Mark notch at princess line 5 cm below shoulder blade level. Then take off the side back panel and the front bodice from the dress form. Use tracing paper to trace the side seam of front bodice to the back bodice. You can trace only several points. The first point is the new side waist point. The second one is the original side waist point. Also, new under armhole point and the original under armhole point. Trim along the front side seam line with added seam allowance. Trim away excess muslin. Take the front and back bodies apart. Draw the side seam of the back bodice. Use pencil to draw the original side seam, and use red pencil to draw the new side seam. So we got two side seams. Connect the shoulder line by the straight ruler. Draw the princess line by the hip curve. Draw the armhole curve by the French curve. Use pencil to draw the original armhole curve and red pencil to draw the new armhole curve. Align the armhole in pencil. Add 2.5 cm seam allowance. Add 2.5 cm seam allowance at the shoulder line. Add 2.5 cm seam allowance the princess line. Trim away excess muslin. Pin together the center back panel and the side back panel. The seam of center back panel should be pinned over the seam of side back panel. First, pin together the notches. Then pin together at the shoulder blade level. Pin together the lower part of princess line. Pin together the front and the back side seam. Notice please, pin the seam of red line, new side seam. Lay flat the area of waistline. Draw the waistline by French curve. Add 2.5 cm seam allowance at the waistline. Trim away excess muslin. Pin together the front and back shoulder. The back bodice should be placed above the front bodice. Since the back shoulder line is longer than the front shoulder line, we need to align the princess lines of the back bodice with the front. Pin the princess bodice back on the dress form. Pin the front neck point. Pin the waist point. Pin the back neck point. Pin the back waist point. Track if the front bodice is smooth and flat. Track if the back bodice is smooth and flat. Track if the side seam is aligned with the side seam on the dress form. Track if armhole is balanced. If all parts are flat, the side seam is balanced. Then we have completed the draping of the princess bodice.